Roger, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
What's
Well,
up?
I've been interested on talking to you because I've been watching your event online, and I'm curious why people aren't signing up. Like, what is going on here, man? So I wanted you to come in so I can talk to you about it, get to know you,
Right.
and get to know why you're actually throwing the event.
Okay.
Because you talked to me about it before. I thought it was an amazing cause, and I want to get it out there, man. So,
All right.
how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Good,
Yeah?
good. Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about you, kind of like your upbringing. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu? And how'd you end up in Lakeland, actually? Right?
Well, okay, so I grew up north,
Okay.
Pennsylvania, Ohio, all over. And I was mainly into football, wrestling, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And sports was always the getaway. I can sit here and talk about, oh, I came from a broken home and, blah, blah, blah. But, I had the mom that was like, you don't get those crutches. This is what we're doing. So, I had to push forward. Not a lot of mentors, all through sports and stuff like that. So growing up like that, and you get involved in the sports, and that kind of becomes like your family and your therapy and your all of those things as you're coming up, and it keeps you on a straight and narrow when you have people that care about you like that. So, with my dad not really being around, these coaches and these different people kind of became the people that kind of guided me through
Your
life.
mentors.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was it was important, and sports was hard, man. Wrestling in Pennsylvania, I don't know if you know, but it's hard.
No, I wrestled in New Jersey, so believe me.
It's hard, man. You know what I mean? Like it's brutal. So, I did all that, and it's funny because I thought whenever I was in high school and stuff, I thought I'm going to end up working with kids, coaching kids in football. That was my thing. I'm going to coach football. That's how I'm going to connect with kids. I've always had a thing for kids and their development, only because that's what got me through. And I understood the importance of like having that structure and having, the coaches and having people that care about you, like a tribal community that helped you stay straight. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I never got in trouble, because gotten a lot of it.
Yeah, same here.
But I had people that, they put it on me. You know what I mean? You get in trouble, you have to answer the bell. And so, I've kept that mentality. And so, we moved to North Carolina, whatever. And then ultimately I ended up meeting my wife in North Carolina.
Okay.
I got into personal training and all this stuff, and I was in the gym, and she came into the gym, and it was so funny. She walks into the gym and she's like, "Hey, can you do body fat here?" I said, "Oh yeah, I can do body fat." So we walk in the office. I'm doing her body fat or whatever. We talked for about 10 minutes, and she was talking about she was interested in doing personal training. It's okay. And she turns around and she goes to walk out, and I had my assistant there, and I looked at him and I was like, I'm going to marry her. I mean, I bet you our whole engagement was about 20 minutes. And so she came back through, I started training her and all this stuff, and, we got close, and I ended up marrying her.
What's her name?
Tracy.
Tracy.
So married her, and then obviously she had 2 kids we met that became my kids because they were very young.
Sure.
Their father passed away from cancer, so they became mine. And then her and I had my son, Trace now. And, from there, so we were in North Carolina. I was heavy into personal training. We had a coffee house and all this stuff. Then I got an opportunity to come down to Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And that was to run a personal training company with a guy and in multiple gyms and all this stuff.
Okay, nice.
So I came down and we did that, moved the family down, all that stuff. And Trey, my youngest, was like a year old. So we came down and we did that. And then I hooked up with another guy who he got an opportunity to come to Lakeland to do the same personal training model that we were doing in Jacksonville. He was doing here at Gold's Gym. Well, when it was Gold's Gym.
Yeah,
so
I remember. Yeah,
so,
with Zach.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I remember. Yeah.
he started that up. So he calls me and he's like, "Hey, man," he said, "you know, they need help here." So he said it might be an opportunity. So I want you to talk to Dave, who was at the time the owner. It was him. I think there were several partners, but he was the owner or whatever. So I spoke to him and ended up moving here. And
this is when? When is this?
This would have been, oh, golly, man. This was, let's see. Trace would have only been like this is about 15 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
So it's been a minute. So, you know, we did that. And then how I got into jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts from there was a guy named Roger Kessler. They used to go around. I don't know if you remember back in the day when they used to have the what they called the lead boxes, where you would put them in stores and it would be like, you know, 1 free week or whatever. Leave your information.
Yeah.
Okay, so Roger came down and was trying to put one of them into the gym.
Okay.
And it was funny because I'm like, that's what we do to other places.
Right.
So, you know, I got information for Champions MMA at that point in time. And I thought, you know what? Because at the time, since I was, you know, football player, all this, I was getting older and I was just lifting heavy all the time.
Gotcha.
You know, you got to give yourself something to do. So I'm like lifting heavy all the time. I was like 310, just, you know. And so I said, let me go up and see what this is about. So I went up, spoke to him, talked to him about 10 minutes and started doing MMA. I figured I'd give it a shot. Man, let me tell you something that you already know, but most people don't. I went in there. I'm all big. I walk in.
Whoop some ass.
Man, I went in there. We started class, and I was about 10 minutes in that thing, and I thought, man, I'm going to die. And then I realized that was just the warm-up part.
Yeah.
Class had not started yet. Man, everything hurt.
Okay, we're going to start the class now.
I was like, what? So, you know, I'm dying, right? And then there's guys in there that are like, I was by far and away the biggest guy.
Gotcha.
There's guys in there fracture my. There's guys in there as big as my leg, and we're going, and they're just rolling me up and all that. Now I didn't have this preconceived notion I was going to smash everybody,
right?
But in my mind, I'm like, I'll do all right. Like they can't, you know. These guys were folding me up like I was just, like I was a child. So it was intriguing. I remember looking at Ross and being like, well, that's day one, you know. and I told him, I said, I want to leave my mark. Now, at first, obviously, you might think that sounds like, oh, you're pretty arrogant for just starting. But I had this feeling that I just wanted to, like, I wanted to leave a mark. I didn't want to be the next guy that just came through.
Right.
You know the jiu-jitsu game. Guys come through. Yeah, I'm going to do all this stuff. They leave because it's hard.
Right.
So I started training, and at first couple years, I just did MMA. I didn't really do like gi, jiu-jitsu, whatever. It was like MMA, striking, jiu-jitsu, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Ross was telling me, you know, you need to do jiu-jitsu class. Like, you know, MMA is cool, but you need to do, like, you need to build your foundation and all that stuff. Excuse me. So I'm like, okay, I'll do jiu-jitsu class. I did it, and I felt like, well, I just started over. I'm like, I thought, man, I put a gi on? What? I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't do anything. So, you know, then I started doing that, and it's kind of like the rest of history because I started training heavily in the jiu-jitsu, and I got into it. And then Ross, I was working at Gold's and training. I lose my job at Gold's. I call Ross. I'm like, man, can't do jiu-jitsu, you know, feed the family or do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know. And he said, whoa. He said, hey, man, let's meet for lunch. I'm like, man, what? I just said, you know what I mean? He's like, no, let's just do that. I'm like, okay. So he told me, he said, when you like, get up every day, look at your job to find a job. Like, keep a schedule. Then he said, keep training to keep it in your life.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I can't. He goes, oh, don't worry about paying all that. We'll worry about that later. Okay. So I just kept training, kept looking for a job, and then ultimately I started helping him out a lot.
Like coaching?
Yeah.
Okay.
Teaching the kids, doing pickup, you know, the drill. Yeah. And then it went from that to one day I came in and he's like, okay, I'm going to give you our Little Champs class. Because before that point, I was kind of just helping them out and whatever. So I thought, oh, this is awesome. I didn't realize teaching 4, 5, and 6-year-olds was not necessarily a privilege. I mean, you know, it's hard. It's really hard. Yeah, it's hard. I didn't know that. I was all pumped up. But I absolutely had an amazing group of little kids, and he was like, those will be your kids. And I didn't realize what he was doing. It came clear to me later. But he was like, all right, teach them. So I started teaching them. Then it went from that to, okay, teach the 5:30 class, which was like the bigger kids and all that stuff. So then I started doing that. And then, I started teaching after school kids, and then ultimately got to 5:30 kids. Next thing I know, I had the whole thing. And
you mean
everything?
I
had the Little Champs, the 5:30 class, the after school, all of that. Yeah. And it was like he had kind of groomed me without me even realizing what's happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? Giving it to me as I can digest it. And it's like the passion took off.
Okay.
I realized, man, I can touch kids' lives in ways that I never thought possible. So from that point, it became more about the kids than even myself or anything else. I wanted to make kids better. Right. And it didn't matter. I mean, jiu-jitsu was just the kind of the vehicle to do that. But it was like that was the primary goal. And to this day, obviously, that remains the primary goal. Jiu-jitsu is just kind of the vehicle. I mean, the vehicle could have been anything, but it's jiu-jitsu. Because as you know, jiu-jitsu challenges you in ways you got to get through. If you can manage through jiu-jitsu and get through it and understand it and go through the trials and tribulations and all kind of stuff, it's directly applicable to life. So you can use, it's a direct correlation. Like if you play football or baseball or basketball or whatever, there's challenges, but I'm not going to go as far as to say that those sports are direct correlation. Do you follow what I'm saying? Yeah. So like if you're LeBron James, right, you're playing a team sport, and you're the best, your struggles aren't necessarily the same. You know, you start getting it handed to you now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. I'm not saying he'd work hard.
Yeah.
You know, but you start getting it handed to you. Right. You're the king. You're the guy.
That hunger goes away a little bit.
Right. In jiu-jitsu, it's almost like that can't ever go away. So even if you become good and you're all of this stuff, it's like you can come into class and one day you ain't good. You're getting beat up.
Yeah.
It's still hard. It's still challenging. It's still growing. There's still things you got to know. You get a black belt. It doesn't matter. There's still things you got to know. There's still things. It never
It's
ends.
Evolving too.
Right. It's constantly evolving. Right.
There's always new moves coming out.
Right. So, you know, it's also why I don't believe in, you know, a lot of martial arts have people that are like master so-and-so.
Right.
I have this thing about that. If I don't believe, and now I don't know about the other martial arts, so I'm not going to speak on them, but in jiu-jitsu specifically, how can you reference someone as a master? Master would imply that they've mastered jiu-jitsu, like they've mastered it. That means there's
nothing more to learn.
Nothing more to learn. There's nobody better. You're, you know. But you and I both know. You and I both sit here. We could both be black belts. We could both be outstanding. And there's a lot of things that you know that I might not be nearly as versed or as good, and vice versa, right? So how are we masters? Yep. If I'm a master, no matter what you know, I know it, and I'm great.
Yep.
It's not possible. It's not possible. There's one guy that I refer to as master, and it is not because, even though he can make this argument, it's not because I feel like he's mastered the jiu-jitsu curriculum, and he's a master because of the person he is. He's mastered, in my opinion, the mixture of life being an ambassador for jiu-jitsu and what it stands for is what he's mastered, and that is Ricardo Laborio.
Okay, yeah.
In my opinion,
love him.
That guy's a master.
He's the nicest.
You know,
guy.
yeah, you know what I mean.
Golly.
So you know,
yeah.
So that when I say master, that's the type of guy. That's what I'm talking about.
You know, he was trying to bring jiu-jitsu to schools a couple years back.
Yeah. So me and Melissa, he actually enlisted us, so to speak. We went and helped him with his event where he brought black belts from all over the world. Yeah. Over to UCF and all that stuff. He talked to us about the curriculum, and he got it into some high schools in Orlando. He's gotten into some colleges. I mean, so yeah, he's just next level when it comes to all of that. And you know, that's his burning desire is to do that, bring it to the masses. Yeah. You know, because you and I know its benefits, but a lot of people just see it. You know, they watch UFC, and so that's what they're thinking. Yeah. But they don't understand everything else. There's so many psychological benefits to it, too, and a lot of people don't realize that. They're just now realizing, there's studies that they realize that like for veterans and people with PTSD and people with psychological issues and people with drug addictions and people with depression and people with jiu-jitsu can assist with coping with all of those things. And there's a lot of,
bullying,
right. And people don't,
confidence.
They don't understand it. They don't realize it. Right. So, anyway, me and Melissa decided to, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but
you're good.
We decided to start a school. And the only reason why, and it was like people were, oh my God, you're leaving champion, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I wasn't doing any of that. All I simply wanted to do was expand my reach to children, right? So Ross has a school on the north side of Lakeland. And I'm like, I'll do it on the south side, or I'll do it somewhere so the reach can expand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you know how jiu-jitsu is. It's like, oh, you know, you're not this guy, la, la, la. That was never, it was like the dumbest thing ever. Right. So I'm like, I want to open a school so that I can reach children. Right. Don't care about nothing else. I want to reach children. So we went ahead and did it. And obviously, you know, in spite of what people believed, Ross and I stayed cool. We're cool to this day. I actually go and teach class with him on Thursdays at his school.
Right.
You know, so anyway, we had school, and I'll never forget, we opened up a school. We had one child student for the first little bit, and I wasn't even trying to get into the adults at that point. And
but you opened this school that you have now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's a pretty big school.
Yeah, well, it was crazy because we're just going to take a plunge. It's 10,000 square feet, man.
Wow.
I'm like, we're just going to do this, right? So we open up, we get this one student, and I'm like, oh, no. You know, this might not have been a good idea. You know what I mean? So you know, then one kind of became 2, became 10. Next thing I know, we're like, well, dang, we had filled the mat up with kids. And
beautiful school, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Man, I walked in there. I went to Jitsu.
Yeah, yep.
Event there a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because I believe it or not, when Fabio left the school, we used to train like in the warehouse right in
Yeah,
Fabio's.
they told me that he was right there, yeah.
And then he was going to rent the space you're in.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I went to see it with him,
right.
you know, and I don't know what happened, but he ended up renting somewhere else.
Right.
But then I heard you were there. I was like, I'm going to go check out his school.
Right.
And I went. I was like, whoa, it was beautiful, man. I loved it. It was nice.
Thanks. It was crazy, too, because we did all that. We jumped all the way in. Then as the school started to grow, the support from families and stuff got crazy. Yeah. And, my idea was to just I'm like, how do I just keep making it bigger, and how do I keep making it bigger? And, people get under this impression that and you know this too, we've had these conversations, you're growing to school and all kind of stuff, and it's all about profit and money and how can you get bigger and how can you make money. It's like if you know anything about opening up schools, same thing with tournaments really. If your primary goal is to make all this profit and become some kind of millionaire or something,
Good luck with
yeah, good luck with that. You just stepped in a big pile of stuff. You don't even, you know what I mean? You have to be passionate about what you're doing and do it for that reason.
Absolutely.
If you do it for another reason, you will not make it.
No, not at all.
And so Melissa and I, there was many days we were sitting there like, we got to figure out, what do we do to keep doors open? Because while you're growing, your suppliers and vendors and landlords, they don't care that you're going to give me my money, man. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we kept figuring it out and kept figuring it out until we stabilized and we, started doing well. And we had a lot of people. I mean, Wade Rome, helped out with just advice, mentorship, coming to teach and all that stuff. When I got into adults, I'm like, I'm going to be in over my head. Ross was the one that was like, with the way you teach kids, adults are easy for you.
Right.
He said, you teach them.
Kids
are more difficult.
Control that.
Yeah. So he's the one that kind of talked me into just have the adult class, man. You're good. So, I did. So, okay, we started doing adult class, and a guy by the name of Jason Plummer was my first adult student. We met him while we were trying to get signs, as fate would have it. And he became my first adult student. He had come from another school. We've been friends ever since. And so, the adult class grew, and I was blessed because instead of going through the normal process of having you got to go through and you get your black belt, then you have to be a black belt for so long and all this stuff before you can have other black belts.
Right.
Well, with Ross's blessing, I was able to I have Jeffa. Jeffa came to me, started training with me, and she was already several belts in at that point.
Gotcha.
So I was able to make her one of my black belts. And then a guy, TJ, came from another school, several belts in already. I was able to make him one of my black belts. And then this past year.
Oh, well, I didn't realize you had black belts already. That's
awesome. Well, that's what I'm saying, right?
That's pretty awesome.
That's not the normal path.
Yeah.
And so this past year became the first year I could actually give someone a black belt without Ross was there, obviously, but without, like, he didn't have to co-sign on it or whatever.
Right.
And that was a guy by the name of Brett, who is the first guy I had that was from white all the way to black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was, that was a pretty special moment. But I've been blessed as far as that goes. And it's been an amazing journey. It's been a rewarding journey. And it's just like when, you and I spoke and I reached out to you and, we sat down and had conversations. It's like jiu-jitsu's done that, where it's like you get to meet people that are, influential people and you get to have these relationships with them and you have this kind of common bond and you get to know common understanding, and all those kinds of things. So that's been a massive blessing to me. It really has. So now my focus is just always about, giving back, continuing to develop kids, continuing to help people. I don't concern myself with all sorts of profits and I got to have this and I got to do that. I got partners that are like, okay, you're not making the best business decision with doing this, right, but, and they'll shut me down sometimes, but it's like, I just want to constantly be growing a culture and a community. And with the way the world is that our kids are growing up in, if we can have it where they can develop and be wired in a certain way that they can overcome challenges, they cannot be fearful of accepting the hard task, they can, grow up with some, integrity and some accountability and some discipline and some, it's like, aren't you feeding into a community that ultimately feeds into how the world works? It feeds into our government. It feeds into, they grow into that whole process. I mean, I've got kids that I started working with that were 4, 5, 6 when I started working with them, and I got One, I got Gabby, who I was with at Champions, and she's a 2-time women's state champion. She was top 10 in her class, and she's now wrestling on a scholarship, and she just, she's an All-American. Yeah. I got Eli, who I started working with. He won a state championship last year. Now he's in college wrestling scholarship, top 10 in the class. And then I got Gabby's twin brother, Gaetano, who's wrestling at Florida A&M, and he was a valedictorian. Wow. I have a girl, I call her Cricket, but Issa, who she's at West Point.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
So, and I don't say it not necessarily like to brag on me.
Well, you should. But, a little bit.
But I always refer, like, these kids are my kids. Yeah. And so you watch them grow up and become fantastic young men and women. That's why we do what we do. You know what I mean? When you see that, you're like, it works. Like, that's, you got to try to train the parents. You got to get them to understand, look, we're going to push your kids, and it's going to be hard. And they're going to hate it, and it's going to be a grind, and they might cry, and it's going to be – but if they do that from the time they're little and they get wired to do that, when they get into high school and then they get ultimately into college, they become people that are willing to do what the next guy won't do, to get the job, to get the degree, to do the thing. That's all they know. But if you take them from little and you keep protecting them from them challenge, and you keep trying to make it easy and you try to make it not as difficult, they're going to always look for you to make it easier. When something gets hard, they're not going to want to do it. Yep. They're like, I don't want to do this. I've never had to do this till now. You know what I mean? Another thing I can't stand, man, is I hear parents say, well, I'll just let a kid be a kid. Well, until when?
Yeah, until when?
You know what I mean?
And then you're going to teach them some respect.
Right.
Some
Then all of a sudden they're 18, 19, whatever it is, going to college, and you trying to flip it and tell them they got to be an adult. What? You know what I mean? If you teach them, and then the best one is this one. Yeah, I figured they'd come and try the class, see if they like it. You might as well turn and walk out. Yeah. You see if they like it. do you send them to school and say, hey, let me know if you like it? Yeah. Do you care? You know what I mean? Like, and that's what people don't understand is, when you train in jiu-jitsu, you have to stop looking at it like it's not like soccer or something. And I'm not knocking sports. I'm saying there is a purpose to it.
Right.
You're coming to it's an extension of life lessons, just like school is. It's literally the same thing. It's the same application because they're learning about life. We're just using the mats to do it, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I teach kids MMA class where they throw hands, they fight, right? You know and I know. You can be the big guy, you can be you can be all that stuff. But if you ain't ever been in a fight, and then someday someone walks up to you and get in a fight, all that big tough guy talk, all that means nothing. If that person you're staring at has fought many times. Do you follow what I'm saying? Yeah, and I'm not talking about fighting in the street and being a thug. I'm talking about they know how to fight. Right? So when I'm teaching kids and we're throwing punches, and I tell parents all the time, they're fighting in a controlled environment. Right? So if, God forbid, they're out here somewhere and they got to fight,
they know what to do.
Yeah, that heart rate don't go flying up like they all afraid. Yeah. They're not afraid. You want to fight me? Let's fight. Right? And it's not about being a tough guy. It's confidence and handling yourself, not being so afraid. And when they're in school, like I always say, let the bully problem be the bully's problem. You know what I mean? Because when you're in school, kids are, they walk around because they haven't been in a fight. Right. They're freaked out. So the kid that's talking all that trash, they're freaked out because they've never been in a fight. What they don't understand is the kid that's talking trash about you, he's punk too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, he can't fight either. You know what I mean? But he's just got all in your head, right? So I've got girls who walk in school. You put your hands on them, they're going to mess your whole world up. And they're not afraid of doing that, guy or girl. They don't care. And those girls don't get messed with. You know what I mean? They don't walk around pounding their chest saying it, but don't corner them. You know what I'm saying? Don't corner them. You know what I mean? And I tell my kids all the time, if somebody corners you, gets all up in your space, all kind of stuff, you need to handle that. Well, I'll get in trouble. I'm like, no, you'll get in trouble if you don't. You know what I mean? Handle your business because you have to do it once.
Bullies won't stop.
Right.
They won't stop.
They're going to keep coming. Yeah. But if you mess one of them up, it stops. Because not only did you make a point to that one, you make a point to any other would-be ones. Yep. You know what I mean? And even if the fight just turns into a fight, let's say you fight, teachers come, whatever, they still not going to mess with you because it's too much work now. They're like, man, that person, I ain't messing with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It fixes everything, and it fixes your confidence, man. It just, you know, it fixes it all. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm a firm believer in, you know, what I do. I raise these kids like they're my own. I refer to all of them as my kids because to me they are. I'm not saying they don't have families or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's a village mentality. Because, you know, back in the day, right, it took a village to raise a child. Like the village, like you would have family, but you might have friends, parents, and all sorts of stuff that were kind of involved in your upbringing. Right. We don't have that now. We have none of that now.
Completely gone.
It's so absolutely gone. Nobody trusts nobody.
In fact, yeah, you have to be wary of everybody.
Yeah, of everybody,
kids,
right?
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're like, no. We will provide the village. We'll work in conjunction with the parents. We'll provide that child with discipline and no escape from it. Right. You know what I mean? So our kids have to have A's and B's, man. You get in trouble at school, you get in trouble at the academy, you get in trouble when you get home. Yep. You're going to get a triple dose. There's no escape, and no, I don't understand. Right. And no, it's not the teacher's fault. You know what I mean? If you disrespect your mom or dad, you are going to have to deal with me. If you get in trouble out in the community, you are going to have to. There's no part of a child's life when they're with me that I'm not involved in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what we need is people that are involved. Because mom and dad can only do so much, and they're only with your child so much, unfortunately, right? Whether they work in, you're at school, you know. So it's good to know that when you're at work or you're at whatever, there's other people that you can openly trust that's going to take your child and hold them accountable. You know what I mean? I've got parents, my kids know, you better show me that report card. If you lost it, then I'm going to deal with you. You know what I mean? If there's something less than a B on there, you're going to get dealt with. And I don't, you know, parents are like, well, I mean, a C is a, no, man. I said, if you have a surgeon cutting you open, do you want a C surgeon or do you want an A surgeon? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You want an average okay surgeon or do you want one that knows what they're doing? You know what I mean? And you have to approach your life's got to be that way. If somebody's building your house, do you want a C carpenter that's okay? You know what I mean? Or do you want the best one you can get? And we gotta all think that way. Even like kids' fitness levels. To have children that are like obese and children that can't do a push-up and we were doing wheelbarrow races and they had no idea what that was. What is going on? You know what I mean? Like, we're like, no, we gonna be, don't come into the academy with your phone and think you're gonna just sit on there and play. No, man, nope.
Don't work like that.
Yeah. And we run them kids, man. We have fitness tests.
That's
you got to pass a fitness test. Like we have this thing now in this country where we're trying to keep up with other countries on an intellectual level. So we start going, we're gonna put them in the books. We're gonna forget physical education. We're gonna put them in front of computers. We're going to get to the rest of the country. Stupid. Go to China. Go to Japan. They're not just sitting in front of those kids train martial arts. Their physical fitness is as important as their grades, which is why they're excelling. When you take that away and you put it in front of books, what happens? You start medicating the kids because all of a sudden they're hyper. You're like, well, they got hyperactive such disorder.
Let's give them some medicine.
No, they don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. They got bored kid disorder, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you're not putting them in any activity, nothing. You're like, put books, video games, TV. It's the same thing as a dog. If you put a dog in a kennel for 12 hours a day, you let that dog out, they're going to tear up everything. Yeah. Why? Because they've been doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's why when kids go to our school, magically, I don't have to put them on a medication. You think? Because the doctor you're taking that child to knows you're looking for an answer. So what is the easiest answer? We can just medicate the child into whatever. Why are we sedating our children? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to get on like a tangent, but it's like.
No, but it's true. I mean, I took my kid. I have an autistic son.
Right.
When he left the house I had to get my other son into some therapy just so we can kind of, right away. They try to put him on all these I'm like, let's talk to the kid first.
Right, right.
Let's talk to the kid first,
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about the first time they saw him.
Right.
They were trying to put him on medication. I was like, no. And my wife at the time was all upset with me, and I was just like, he's 14 years old, man.
Right.
Right. Let him, let his mind develop before we start putting him on drugs,
right. And there's some kids, don't get me wrong, man. There's some kids
that need it.
They just genuinely need it. I've got some at my academy that they genuinely have real problems and they need some help. That's a different thing. But what we've done is we lumped every kid into that. Like when I was growing up, it was rare that you saw a kid that might be on some kind of medication for that. It was a rare thing.
Right.
Now it's almost rare when they're not.
Yeah, every other kid is on some kind of,
You think the world just... that all the kids just all of a sudden come on, man. No, we discovered the world's moving so fast and it's quicker to just medicate them than it is to, because then it provides also, nobody wants to say this out loud, but it provides an excuse. Yeah. Because, my kid's bad, they're getting everything because they didn't take their medication. Man, your kid's bad because the structure isn't there and they're bored and they don't have enough physical activity. That's why your kid's bad. And if I'm being honest, I don't believe in bad kids. I believe in bad parenting, but I don't believe in bad kids. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm a perfect parent, but I'm an active one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you're active, you'll figure it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you just want to parent, well, I ain't got time for that. Okay. Your child's going to stay on medication. You better hope that as that child gets older and their body keeps adapting to that medication, they have to keep changing, that your child somehow finds a way to be successful basically without help.
Yeah.
Is the way that I look at it. And I have no problem telling my parents that. They know that I come straight. I come straight at them, and if you understand where my passion is and where my heart is, most of my parents do, and they accept it. I'm not beating you down like I'm trying to correct your parenting. I'm trying to help you, and we collectively are trying to make sure your child has the best possible chance at success in life. That's all I care about. If that hurts your fragile feelings in the process, then so be it. If your child ends up benefiting from it, I'm good with that. Right. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I had a parent who, we're friends. We don't have any problem, but he called me one day and said that his son didn't like running. He just wanted to learn jiu-jitsu. And I said, well, conditioning is part of what we do. And he said, yeah, but he doesn't really like that. Okay. And so he pulled him.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. I'm not going to change the process for that, right? And he has a great son. I'm still cool with this. Like, it wasn't really that was hard feelings. It was a philosophical difference.
Sure, it is.
So be it. You know what I mean? And because some people, it's not for them. I get it. But I can't change, what I'm saying, who I am, because I understand I was the kid that had to go through that. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, me too. I get it, man. I totally get it. So, it's very personal for me. It's not really business at all. If I could have a school, open it up like that, and train kids and not charge a dime, I would. But like I just said,
you gotta live.
Yeah, I gotta live. Landlord doesn't care, right? I gotta feed kids, so
it is what it is.
Got to keep the lights on, all that stuff. Yeah. But it's
It's the same with me and the events. I've never made a penny.
Yeah, we talked about
jiu-jitsu.
that. Yeah,
in fact, I'm about $100,000 in.
Yeah.
What I'm saying?
Right.
But I love it.
Right.
You make a difference in kids, and now I'm very fortunate that I get to see all the kids that have grown up in JitzKing, as Jits kids. Yep. I'm seeing them become superstars now.
Right.
And that was our goal.
Right.
From the beginning. Let's find some fresh, new talent.
Right.
And let's put them out there, make them stars.
Right.
That was our thing, and we've been doing it ever since, and I love it, man. I do it just for love. I don't make a penny. The only thing I want to do is make enough to do the next event.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like to make some more money just because, I want to. My vision is crazy.
Right.
I want cameras and I want all these beautiful
stuff, right.
I want all the beautiful production,
Right.
But I don't do it for money. So I just whatever I make, if we make a little extra, me and Enrique. But I just bought that tumbler machine to make tumblers. Right. I mean, we put every penny back into it. We love it,
And that's the thing. Whenever I spoke to you, that was the vibe, and I was like, man, this is really cool. It was like our interest in the way we thought, lined up.
Yeah.
Because people, with the advent of smooth comp, everybody's like, let's set up a tournament, because if you do it right, they set up as almost like a quick cash grab. Right. Oh, great. Because if you open up enough profit centers in a tournament and you run it just right, you make a pretty good little piece of change at the end of a tournament.
Yeah.
But when I spoke to you, and I saw, not only did I speak to you, but when I attended the event and I saw what you put into it, I knew, I'm like, yeah, man, he ain't. He ain't making no big dollars doing that.
Every penny.
Right.
I spent that plaque right there.
Right.
$800
Yeah.
on that. And my business partner hates me for it.
We got the same
we
problem.
argue all the time.
Right.
He's like, can we just get a plan? And I'm like, bro, this is our thing, And he tells me, we're never going to make any money, right? I'm like, I know. All right, as long as you're good with it.
Right. No, that's funny. That's so true, because it's, with this event that I got coming up, it's funny because I'm like, I want to do this big event, whatever. And I hit up Ross. I'm like, listen, I'm going to do this event. I do it one time a year around the anniversary of Tracy's passing.
And I definitely want to get into that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, when we were trying to figure out the differentiator, because before this year, we just had it at the school and we had kids only. Because that's my passion,
right?
Have kids, and we had a lot of fun with it. Well, last year we were like, "Whoa, it's getting a little crowded in here. Like we can't even move around." Yeah. The participation was big, so we're like, "Oh, we'll hold it somewhere next year." And I teach jiu-jitsu at a church, brand new facility, beautiful facility, and JD, who is one of my students, but he's also the guy that runs the place. Oh, nice. He was like, you can use our spot and whatever.
And where is it at?
It's right by. It's off of Old Kathleen Road, where Nick and Moses is.
Yeah,
There's a Calvary Baptist Church is right, almost across the street.
Okay.
Huge place.
Awesome.
But anyway, I said, well, let's do adults this year too. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's have an absolute. Okay. You know what? Let's make it for. Because first we're going to do 1,000 each. Then I talked to Josh LeDuc, who runs these kinds of things all the time. And I'm like, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? He's like, maybe you should make the pot bigger. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, man, I got to come up with that money. You know what I'm saying? And so I talked to Melissa about it. And I talked to Jenna about it. And I'm like, screw it. Let's just put it out there. Because especially when it comes to female absolutes and female grappling in general, and I know, they generally don't pay out like that. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll do $5,000 for the men and $5,000 for the women. And so I hit up Jeffa, and I'm like, I call her Jiffy Pop, but I hit up Jeffa, and I'm like, hey, listen, I want to do this thing for women, and you are the queen of the women. So grappling world, yeah. I'm like, so let's get together on this, and let's get these girls in here and highlight them. And then Josh does it with the guys. I'm like, let's get these guys in here, and I said I'm putting up $5,000 each. So, and here's where the blessing happened. So, I did that with no answer. I was like, I'm just gonna pay it. We might lose our shirt, but I'm gonna make it happen. Then I was like, another thing that jiu-jitsu doesn't do is encourage team participation. You do. You have a lot of amazing stuff. We actually got them whenever we went there. But, a lot of schools don't think. They want to highlight individual, like this person's great, this person's great, whatever. Right. So I'm like, let's give, I don't know, we'll give up $2,000 to the team that wins. So we did that. And then I'm like, man, but then the kids don't get anything. You know what I mean? I'm like, kids get nothing. So I'm like, I tell you what we'll do. We'll do $500 matches. One match, one winner, $500. If you're a child, $500 might be less like $5 million. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? So I'm like, we can highlight them, right? We can, $500, they get a belt. They're king of the world because they just won the match. And we'll tie it to, like, these teams that are coming, send me the child you want highlighted. We'll have several matches. We'll get these kids. We'll match them up. And then the day of the event, we'll highlight them. Okay, here we go. This child, boom, go. You know, so they're on center stage for real dollars. So after I did all that, did the thing or whatever, I'm like, that's about $15,000 in just cash prizes. Yep. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? You know what I mean? So you know, I'm like, gotta make this happen. Well, the blessing was when you have people who believe in what you're doing. We started getting companies and people that were like, we'll put into that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Great, we'll sponsor that. And so, you know, we had a lot of people. I mean, you know, even yourself, when I spoke to you, and we're like, all right, well, how can we make this work? You're like, how can I help? What can I do? You know, it's you know, like, that's a beautiful thing.
It's a great cause.
You know what I mean? So you know, I'm like, now I've got sponsors. I've got, my mind's in a lot better place than it was a minute ago. But it's been great. So, you know, and I'm watching. I'm like, man, people, like we were talking about, they what is the hesitation of registering for a tournament that's doing this? Like, why is there a hesitation? And, you know, a lot of times I think that because of the tournament circuit now and the way that it is, there's a bunch of them, right? But then there's like, then you have your ADCC and your IBJJF and all that. Right. That are like the big dogs, right? That's where all the reputation is, and then look at me, and I won the such and such and such. So now all of us, yourself and you know, Ross has Copas, and you know, there's not JitzKing, well, JitzKing, but there's freestyle grapplers, and there's all these. It's almost like they've been considered the little guy that's almost irrelevant now. Right, like, right. Yeah, they're the little local deal, you know, that kind of thing. And what people don't understand is, just like with fighting, everybody will pay $1 million to watch and support the UFC and the fighters there. But the fighters coming up in the local circuits, they're like, right? But what they don't understand, those guys become those guys. Right. So in order for those guys to become those guys,
you gotta do these.
You gotta do that stuff, right? And you have to support that. You have to put your dollars into these guys. And like tournaments the same way. Like you brought up a great point. You have a tournament that has watched children grow through it and become the superstar kids, right? Or the superstar adults, or whatever the case may be. Ross has had some that have come through Copa and have become superstars. Like, that's the network. Like, that's the system. So if we stop going and registering and supporting these tournaments, it'll eventually, you don't see it now, you may not think about it, but it'll start to die, because you certainly can't forever just keep putting on tournaments and with limited participation, right? Eventually you're just going to have to be like, I can't keep doing it. Right. I have to, eventually can't keep doing it, or Ross or other people. Then what happens to all the kids and adults who are not Gordon Ryan and whoever else? What happens to them? They all flood ADCC, but how long is that really going to last when they go there and they just, you know, there's 55 people in a bracket and all this other stuff? That stuff is going to wash. And not only that, the financial considerations, right? It'll become so elite that the parents who just want to invest in their child's future, they just keep doing ADCC and IBJJF, and they don't care about nothing else. You'll have them. Right. But the other 85% will fall off. Because where do you go? If all of our tournaments die, where do you go? What do you really do? You either do the big guy or you do nothing. Yeah. And then ultimately, what does that do? That'll kill the art. It'll kill the sport because these kids get discouraged. Like, I got plenty of kids. They're good kids. They grapple. They're try hard competitors and stuff like that. They haven't reached a point where they're just this elite whatever. Right. And what do? Those kids don't want to go. And mom and dad's like, I can't go invest the travel money and all the stuff to do the ADCC in Texas or whatever. We're killing it. What do they all do? And that's what people don't understand. This stuff is so much bigger than just, I want a tournament with a bunch of participation because we're just greedy. Like, they don't get it. And then on top of that, I know you've heard this. Team shows up, people show up, and they're mad because, oh, my daughter has to go with this person from the same school. Or, they have to move up or down a bracket. I'm the only one, da-da-da. As if that's what you want. Like, that's your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As if.
Yeah, I've had coaches get upset with me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, my kids don't have. I'm like, bro, I spent $5,000 on promotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, to get people here. I promise you I did everything I could.
Like, they act like as the promoter that's what you wanted. Yeah. Like, you did it on purpose. You know what I mean? I'm sure if you had it your way, you'd have so many registrations that you tournament be all day long. You'd have, all these full brackets and nobody. But that's not realistic, and it's certainly not realistic for a parent or another athlete to think that you purposely planned to have a small tournament where they have to go against their own student or they don't have anybody in their break. That's so. When I hear that, it's just ridiculous to me. I'm like,
it used to get to us, but now it's like,
yeah, like whatever, dude. I
feel like saying sometimes, bro, I do this for free.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, right.
You're bugging the heck out of me.
Right.
And I'm doing this because I love your kid and I wanted him and you guys to come and have a great time. That's all I wanted.
Right.
And you're over here, my kid got scratched and threatening to sue me. I get that all the time too. It's like, I'm sorry, man.
Right.
I didn't do it.
Right. And that's what, like, so, to get into this tournament that we're having, because I know you said you wanted to dive into a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the TLC grappling tournament. TLC is just my wife's initials, Tracy Lynn Carson.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, that's where cool. TLC comes from. So a few years ago, early in the morning, she was driving to Tampa. She had a passenger in the car, a guy by the name of Daniel Ratcliffe. She was taking him to, I want to say, the airport. And she was in a Camry, and a guy was driving a Dodge 2500, like a big Ram. He had his cell phone and dropped it or something. I was looking for it. He didn't even see her. He didn't even brake. He hit her in the back. He hit her so hard that his truck hit her and went up over her car and off to the side. Killed her instantly. Killed Daniel instantly. And then injured multiple people in front of them and cars. And, it was high impact. The guy got out of the car, got out of his truck. He was fine, of course. And said to the police officer, he had dropped his phone. He was on his phone and dropped it. Was looking for it. So I get a call from my oldest son. He can't put two words together, and I'm like, "What? What's wrong?" It's the morning. I'm like, What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? He can't hold it together, and all he says is, "Mom's dead." That's all he can say. Now, my youngest son is in the house, sleeping. And it was like, when he first said it, it was one of those things where I'm like, huh? It takes a second. Like, what do you mean she's dead? And, when it hit me, the very next thing that hit me was Trace is in the next room, and I got to tell him that. I got to wake him up and tell him that. I knew I wasn't going to do that. So I call Melissa, and I tell her that Tracy's dead. What happened? So she comes over, and I bring Trace in. And it was heartbreaking, man, because he comes in, and he's like, what? And I couldn't get it out. And I finally said it, and he had this look on his face like, what? Like he didn't understand me or didn't hear me. And so Melissa's like, you know, this is what happened.
How old was he?
He would have been, this was 3, 4, he'd have been 16. Let's see, this is been 15. And I'm just like, it was like he was confused for a second. And then it hit him. So we hop in the car. I was not really capable or in the mood to drive, but I wanted to get to my other 2 kids. So they were living in St. Pete. I mean, they're older. They were living in St. Pete. And so Melissa, we got in the car, we drove down there. And I remember storming in and just, all I wanted was the guy's name. Didn't care about anything else. Give me the guy's name. And the state police wouldn't give it to me. Nobody would. And my son, my oldest son, Jonas, was, I'm standing there talking to him. And both my boys are not small guys. I'm standing there talking to him. And I'm like, I was singularly focused on the guy's name. I was enraged. And my son says, if you go, I'm going with you. And at the time, I'm like, so be it. Then a little bit later, he pulls me into the bedroom and he talks to me. And he says, I already lost my father, meaning his biological father. And he said, I've lost my mother. And he's like, I don't want to lose you. And I, yeah. And I'm looking at him, you know, and that rage was like, started to come down, like, you know, and then it was like my focus switched to, right, I still have our kids. You know what I mean? So, you know, Tracy's family flew in and all this stuff. And it's like I switched to, I got to take care of the kid. Like, I got to make sure they're straight, we get through this and all that. My daughter, Emily's like the brains of the operation. She's the smarts. So she kind of started taking control of stuff and, you know, all that. And as things started to settle, and I started focusing on taking care of the kids, it dawned on me that this guy who I wanted to hate so badly, I want to do more than hate him, did something that probably 85% of people on the road do every day. Yeah. That guy did.
You,
right.
Me.
That guy did not wake up thinking to himself, I'm going to go and, you know what I'm saying? So we all know, we're very aware, and there's been a ton of educational material out there about drinking and driving. Everybody, you go anywhere, leave your keys, you know, are you okay, blah, blah, like, excuse me, we're over the top about drinking and driving. We give little to texting and driving or being on the phone. But texting or driving while distracted is 6 times more deadly than drinking and driving. But it doesn't get the attention. We don't think about it that way. When our kids leave the house, and they're going to wherever, all we talk about is drinking and driving. If you're drinking, even though we know they shouldn't be, but we know they do, whatever, call me, get a ride. New Year's, there's free Uber, taxis, whatever. Do they even have taxis anymore? But you know,
I don't think so.
get a ride. Don't do what. But no, there's no one ever says anything about texting, driving, none of it. So I was like, I have to bring attention to this. And it can't be just a matter of, you know, hey, it's a bad idea. Like, how do we get people to look at it, right? Well, what do I know? I know grappling and kids jiu-jitsu and all of that. My son is heavily, I mean, he's 19, trains all over the place, and he's heavily into it. So why don't we hold a tournament? And the first one we held was at my school, small, did it, a lot of fun, had a good time. Tracy was the type of person, just so you know, she wasn't about sad funerals and crying and carrying on. She was like, remember me, celebrate life, laugh, joke. That was who she was. So we had this tournament. Then I'm like, you know, I felt like we had to do more than that. So next year, had it again. And then it was bigger, you know. So now I'm like, driving, grapplers against distracted driving. It's kind of a thing. I was like, I'm going to do that. And then the TLC event, the idea of it is I want it to be, I don't want to have it every month or nothing like that. Right. Once a year, right around the time the accident happened. I want to keep putting it back in people's face, but under this like event that hopefully will just continue to get bigger, where even if it's once a year, it's some people talk about it until the following year, which is why I'm like, let me go ahead and put out this money. Let me go ahead and do all this stuff that people don't do. So people go, oh, that event, you know, whatever. And they look forward to it the following year. Does that make sense? Yep. So, yeah, it costs a lot of money and all of that stuff. But I'm not about making the money. I'm about making the point. You know what I mean? This isn't for profit. This is to deliver a message. So, you know, we have, you know, rash guards. We have peripherals to sell and all that stuff. All that stuff, the T-shirts and the all of that, it's all helping to go pay for the event itself.
Buy some T-shirts.
Yeah, buy some please buy some T-shirts. Please buy rash guards and all that stuff. You know, because that's how I'm paying the people that I'm bringing here. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I've had a lot of people that let me know what you need. People like yourself, let me know what you need. Do whatever you need, which has been a big help. And it's been phenomenal. And I want it, like I said, I want to do it once a year and make it, you know, a big event. And the idea being, you know, like we talked about our visions being, if we can get it where people are showing up for absolutes for big, you know, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. You get these big absolutes with some of the best grapplers from all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a tournament surrounding that. And it's like, what better way to honor Tracy and to deliver a message, you know what I mean, than to have it on that level where it's constantly talked about, because along with that, we'll be talking about why the event exists to begin with. So you just keep delivering this message over and over again. And, you know, we're like, okay, what peripherals can we, you know, keychains and stuff, just so it's constantly in your face. Right. You know what I mean? But without it being force-fed like vegetables. It's just organically in your face. So hopefully the idea being, you go to get in the car, you put your phone down, or you know, now cars have all this stuff that you can be driving and talking, and you don't have to be holding your phone or doing all that. My son, you know, Trace has made me very aware, because there's times where I pull up to a light. Oh, it's red. Pick up the phone. Right. You know what I mean? And then he's like, Dad, because it turned green. It's like that. That's how you know what I'm saying?
The little beep.
Beep. Yeah, what? You know, and then you try to play it off and just slide your phone down the drama. You know, I know, right? You know, so, and I've seen people in parking lots, man, walk across the parking lot. Kids, walk across the parking lot, and they're looking at their phone, walk right in front of your car.
Yeah.
They're not even paying attention to you, man. You know what I mean? I go to the high school to pick up Raven, and it's like,
my son did that the other day.
oh yeah,
yeah, walk right by me. I was like,
crazy.
Look at it, just on the phone, walk right by me. I lowered the window. I was like, hey, come on, man, golly.
Yeah, these kids are walking across the street, and they're doing this. They got earbuds in and their phone in their hand. But something could blow up right beside them. They have no idea. You know what I mean? So we actually have to, you know, we do. We got to stop that. We got to, you know, it can wait. The message can wait. We grew up without all that. Yep. You had to get somewhere to answer the phone or to talk.
And now I can't even imagine life without it. That's the crazy thing. It's kind of sad, actually, right?
You wake up in the morning, I know you do this. You wake up, reach over for that phone, checking emails and all of that text messages.
I'm glad my wife ain't here.
I mean, but it's true, right? Like, so I don't even. This is how bad it has gotten for me. Like, I'll silence my phone completely at night, because if not, I'll roll over and check that thing every 2 minutes. Yeah. So I silence it, man. And, you know, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, so-and-so was trying to get a hold of me, you know what I mean? But I was asleep or whatever, you know, because, God, we don't want to sleep. That's ridiculous, right? So, yeah, and, you know, and the kids, Raven actually, Melissa's daughter gets mad because we'll be out to dinner or something, and you'll literally, everybody's sitting there on their phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually pulled up in the Starbucks. Me and Melissa go to Starbucks. We do, like, our coffee and Saturday mornings and stuff. And we were out one time, and there's this Jeep going in the drive-through Starbucks, and it had the doors open, top off, all that. You know how you can take everything off, right?
Yeah.
Kid you not. It was like, I'm assuming, mom, dad, and 2 kids in the back. Every one of them were literally on their phone. Like, they could have all fallen out that thing, and it wouldn't have. They were all on their phone.
I believe it.
Nobody was talking to anybody. I mean, our kids don't have the ability to.
What a crazy scene now, right?
Oh my God!
And you look around the restaurant, and everybody's just like nobody's talking.
No
to
interaction
each other.
skills, no critical thinking skills,
Crazy.
no conflict
Social
resolution skills, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Ask a kid, take a kid, any kid from about 8, 9, 10 years old, and have them try to look you in your eye and have a conversation. They cannot do it.
Yeah,
they can't do it.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? And if there's a problem, they can't even talk to you. They can text you all day, but they cannot talk to you to your face.
Yeah, when I get upset with my kid, I'm always look me in my eyes, man. Like, are you like hearing me?
Right. They can't do it, man.
Like, I gotta know that you're understanding what I'm saying, bro. You know.
And that's, you know, my son. You know, he's the one still at home with me, but
that's Tracy, right?
Yeah, Trace. He'll be like, Dad, you know, like I'll be in my room, like, Dad, can I come in? Okay, he comes in. And then it's in the evening, and we'll have our little talks. We'll just start talking. Right. You know what I mean? And I like to keep that because, you know, like we just talked about, at the cell phone age, there's just no, you know, you don't have that. Yeah. You don't have that. Yeah. You know, not to sound like a traditionalist, but you don't even have, how many times you sit at a dinner table now and, like, have conversations with your kids and how you doing? And they'll literally sit at that same dinner table and be like this, not talking to you. Yeah. It's like you have to make them. And then Instagram and TikTok and all this stuff. I have girls that I've trained the time they were little that are older now, you know, college age, whatever. And they're just, you know, I'll hit them up because they'll post something on Instagram like, oh, no.
Take that down.
You take that right back down.
I did that to my nieces a couple times.
Yeah. And they're like, what? I'm like, you know what? You know what?
I've done that to my niece. They hated me for a few days.
Right.
But I'm Uncle Eddie, so, but yeah, I'm like, okay. Nobody needs to see that.
No, nobody needs to see that. You know, Raven, who's very much like a daughter to me, I've known her since she was very, very little. She don't put anything up on, because I don't play that.
Yeah, they just want to look cute.
Right. Yeah, but no,
they don't understand. You know, I mean, there's a lot of weird people out there.
There's a lot of weird people out there.
So,
and I used to have a job where I got to see weirdness, where dudes would they could pull pictures of teenage or younger girls off of these things. They're in their bathing suits, whatever else, and they can place it. Next you know, your 10, 11, 12-year-old daughter is on a porno site, and it's like they do their faces and they do. Dude, it is some
really?
Oh my god!
So is that what was happening with this J-Rod thing? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I did.
Is that kind of what was going on?
Yeah, he was doing. Now I'm not sure if he was putting them on sites, but he was. Well, I can't say definitively. From what I understand,
yeah,
he was taking the girls that worked out there that trained there, and they were taking their faces and putting them on, like, porn people.
So weird.
Yeah, and it's like, but back to the original point is why you want to have a village raise your child, because now we're getting this.
Yeah,
we're getting this stuff. You know what I mean? And I've got girls that have trained with me for a long time that I know very personally, and I tell if they come in the academy and they got the shorts on all the way up there, and they know I don't play that.
Yeah,
they know I don't play that. They'll go change their clothes. I got girls running, like, oh, did you see so and so? And they'll be hiding from me.
Yeah, you don't want that talk.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta nip that a little bit.
I don't like, and people think I'm weird because I don't even like Raven. I don't want her on social media, even in like her swimsuit. I'm like, no, we ain't doing that. You don't mean anything by it, and your family don't mean anything by it. But there's some sick, twisted people that do and will take that, and you can't undo it. Once that happens to you, it's there. There's no recourse. You can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? And she knows that. She's very good about that, and she, she understands. But, a lot of people don't. A lot of parents don't. They get these girls that they will put their, they got the daughter in the string bikini, and they think it's cute. Right? Maybe they're 10, 11, 12. Yeah. It's cute. But when they're 15, 16, 17, it's different.
Ain't that cute.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, okay, now you can't wear that. Why not?
Yeah, I've been wearing it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I've been wearing it all this time. You know what I mean? And it is unfortunate. I get it. And you shouldn't have anybody dictate what you wear. But that is the world we live in. And we need to accept it, because I've seen firsthand, I've been involved firsthand. Not only can your daughter be essentially snatched up on social media, they can be snatched up in real life. Yep. You got your child out here thinking they're big and bad, walking them all, doing their thing, whatever, and they can be taken within 3 or 4 minutes and out of your life forever.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And there are girls that are prime targets for that. And I am over the top about any girl that I know, no matter age, and I try to get them to understand. And if you're real young, I try to get your parents to understand. Like we talked about earlier about the village and trusting people. It's terrible, but it's just the truth. You could be out. Your daughter could be in this house right now. She can walk out into your yard to do whatever. You're in here not thinking about a thing. And she's gone. Yep. You know what I mean? Because that is the world we live in. And what people don't understand, too, you see these 18-wheelers going up down I-4.
Right.
I bet you at least once or twice a week you've passed one with humans in the back, and you don't even realize it. You don't even think about it.
That's scary, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Scary, yeah.
So, we got to protect our kids.
I agree.
We have to raise them to be aware and understand, and it is what it is. You don't have to. I tell Raven all the time, you ain't got to show your body to be somebody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Whatever you show me first, I'm going to think is your best asset. Do you want that best asset about yourself to be your body, or do you want it to be you, your mind, your voice, your thoughts? Right? Sounds cliche and old and all that, but it's the truth.
Truth.
And I know we grew up with the girl who's putting it all out there. You know what we think of that girl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a shame, but
right. You know what we think of that girl.
That's how we are.
Right. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
But if you get the girl that's talking to you, you're talking to her. It's like it's different. You still might have an interest, think she's cute or whatever, but it's different because the engagement is different.
Right.
Versus, hey, look at her, whatever. It's totally different. It's different. And then they have to undo how you think of them to get to you. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they put that out there first.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyway, I know that strayed completely away from what we were talking about.
That's all right.
But,
just talking.
it's you know, I'm my passion with kids across the board on all levels. That's just where I'm at with all of it. Like every aspect of it, you know, even with like the boys and how they handle themselves with, you know, girls and with people, and you know, from the time they're little, like it's, you know, I'm always trying to ingrain into them different values and different things, different ways to see things, and all that stuff, man. You know,
that's what a good leader does. You know, I mean, you know, you're gonna be a mentor to a lot of people, man. That's pretty cool. You know.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
pretty darn cool. You know, I helped coach when my son was training when he was little. I helped coach a little bit in the kids class. Man, those kids really, and I was just a coach. I barely did anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just walk around. If one of the kids wanted to roll, I'd roll with them.
Right.
But they look up to you.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Right.
You know, Mr. Eddie, you know, and they're like, it's a good feeling. I love it. You know, I love the kids, man.
You know, they trust you.
Yeah, they trust you.
And as a parent, they trust you.
I love that innocent mind, man. And I would like to keep them innocent.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I have a 12-year-old, and she looks like a 17-year-old girl, and it drives me crazy. Because her mind, she's just a little girl, you know?
And you got to be like, nah.
Oh, man, she don't
you're
understand,
my little girl,
you
but
know?
yeah.
I just made her throw away a couple pair of shorts,
right?
Because I was like, you don't look like a 12-year-old.
Right.
You know, you got to...
You got to change your thinking.
Yeah.
Yes,
so what your event, what day is it on?
Oh, okay. So it's July 19th. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, obviously, kids are going to go first, all that stuff. Right. So I was telling people, when you register, if you're an adult, like, we'll put everything out so you know, so you don't have to show up at 9 o'clock in the morning just to wait till 2 or whatever.
Right.
You know, you can delay your coming and all that kind of stuff. We're going to have, obviously, all the cash prizes and stuff and belts and the whole thing. But we have a lot of food there. My business partner and brother, Jonathan, he has Wabash Pizza and Ice Cream. He's going to be doing all the food there.
Awesome.
So, and we're going to
should have talked to you, man, because I was just looking for food trucks yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I found a good guy, but...
Yeah, Jonathan's great. He handles everything food-wise for anything that I do. He's really good. He's passionate about what he does. So he's going to be there doing it. And then we're going to have other types of things there, just as far as, like, you know, small activities and stuff. I think we're going to have like a hair braider there.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
You know, just so
keep the kids busy.
Right. So they're not just sitting around like, oh my God, I got to wait. You know, so we're in the families, we'll have stuff kind of going on and stuff to do, because we want it to be a big festive event.
Right.
So, you know, I tell people, you know, we've opened up registration a while ago. We did that because obviously calendar, people making plans and stuff. We want them to know this is when the event is. Make your plans, whatever you need to do. They can contact me. Raging Trainer is my Facebook, but they can contact me with any questions or anything like that. And then we're doing the registrations, obviously, all the way up till I think it's like the Thursday before. Right. And then we are going to, as far as the kids' super fights, that Thursday we'll take the kids from the list that's kind of been sent to us, and we'll start matching them. So the participants will know a couple days beforehand you have a super fight.
Right.
You know, everything will be handed out, you know, in cash. We're going to make a big deal about it. Oh, and it's going to be live streamed, the whole thing.
Okay. On what? What's?
I got to get with Josh with that, but Josh is setting that up.
Okay, through Eventbrite probably.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So, you know, and we did that. Because like I said, Eventbrite. Because we're like I said, we're trying to make it a big deal, big production, all that kind of stuff, and hopefully it takes hold and people understand what we're trying to do.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited. I'll be there.
Yeah,
you know,
yes,
I'll be there. You know, don't put me to work. Because I'll put you to work if you come to my. No.
Hey, it's all good.
That's funny. I actually, you know, I see my friends sometimes at my event.
Yeah.
If they're not doing nothing, I'll put them to work.
Oh, hey,
I'll be
man,
like, hey, come on, man, come
Hey, that's what we got to do.
For me.
That is
Give my
what we
guys
gotta
a
do.
break a little bit.
Man, I've jumped in sometimes and I'll ref. Like I'll be standing there, and maybe it slowed up. The ref had to go get food, whatever happened.
Yeah.
Dude, I jump in quick. I'm like, I got this.
Yeah,
Put on a thing, ref, just to keep it going. You know
I
what
like
mean?
things to keep going.
Yeah.
I want people to come fight when they're around the time that they're supposed
Right,
to. We're
right,
usually
right.
a little bit earlier,
Right.
you know. But I want them to fight, and then if they want to go home, go home. You know what I'm
Right, yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come have a good time with us.
Right.
And then, you know, so I like things going, you know. I see a mat empty, and I'll look at my referee like this.
Yeah. Why are we sitting there?
Just
What's going
look
on?
at him,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they'll be like, all right, come on, let's get things rolling.
yeah, let's
you
get
know?
it going.
So-
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, and I'll be at your event. We got a team coming.
Yeah, man, I have a lot of cool things coming up. We have King of the Swamp on May 31st here in Lakeland.
Yep, that's what we'll be at.
That one's going to be fun. As you can see, man, we've got the beautiful plaque there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It took him about 5 days to do, I think. He hand carved, man. All my plaques are hand carved. You know, he uses, you know, he used to use 6 knives, but now these big ones he uses, you know, rotor and stuff like that.
Stuff.
But he used to just use. He would make 40 plaques for my super fight shows.
Right.
3 months every day, carving plaques. Crazy.
That's
man.
Crazy, man.
He loves it. He loves it. He's retired, you know.
Yeah, so he's just doing his
he was
thing.
when I was a captain here at the armory here in Lakeland.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in the Army. And I saw one of my commanders was leaving, and somebody made him a plaque. And I look at the plaque and I go, wow, that's beautiful.
Right.
And then somebody told me, hey, Private Jesse, he did that. He does that with, you know, just a couple knives. And I was like, I'm looking at it and I'm going, ain't no way in hell, man.
Right.
He did this with his hand. Yeah, man. So when I got out of the Army and we started talking about JitzKing, I wanted to make fist for the throne.
Oh, right.
So I was like, damn, there was this guy that used to do carvings when I was, you know, the LT or the commander over there at, you know, the armory.
Right.
And I looked online, came up right away.
Oh, yeah?
Came up right away.
Right.
I called him, and you know, I didn't remember him. I never saw him, but he remembered me because I was just one of the few officers in the armory. You know?
Right.
So he's, oh, yeah. So it was just a cool thing. So that's our thing, you know, it was plaques, wood. Right. He carved everything here.
Yeah, this stuff's incredible, man.
Yeah, man. He's an artist, you know. So,
That's
but yeah, it's coming up. Then I have on August 16th, we have an open here at the Florida Fairgrounds.
Okay.
That's going to be fun because what we're doing is on the next day, we're doing a super fight show, which we're having a 16-man bracket, and they're competing for $10,000.
Oh, wow.
Okay, yeah. We're going to stream everything live, free on YouTube.
Right.
So everybody can watch it that wants to see it. We're going to have about 20 super fight shows. And what we're doing is pretty much, you know, I'm just being honest, the teams that are supporting us,
right?
You know, and the teams that have, you know, people that are constantly winning our events,
right?
We're going to place them on the super fight show against, you know, other. We have a lot of kids, believe it or not, applying from other states. You know, because kids are applying now. Yeah, so they're applying from other states to be, and some superstars, man. It's kids, you know, but
for sure.
Now kids are superstars. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
kids are superstars.
Yeah, we've got here in Florida. It's crazy, man. The amount of kids.
Florida's kind of become a hotbed for that.
Oh man, it's crazy here. Yeah. So we've got some really cool stuff coming up, man, and I hope you're a part of it, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Know? I'm gonna definitely be, you know, whatever you need from me. I'm gonna be a part of your event. I'm gonna have fun there. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're gonna do it.
All right. Pleasure talking to you, brother.
Absolutely, man.
All right. We'll talk again soon, man.
All right, man.
Do you want to promote any sponsors?
Oh, man. I could go on and on and on. Actually, you know, Lakeland PD.
Awesome.
Lakeland PD, Wabash, ice cream and pizzeria, Nick and Moe's. I mean, I can just literally go on and on and on and on and on. There's been many of them. Origin, actually.
Okay.
Origin and Jocko Fuel.
Nice.
There's literally an entire. We have them so many that when we're setting everything up, it's like we got to do like a acknowledgement wall almost.
Yeah, perfect.
You know what I mean?
Perfect,
Because
yeah,
you can't really, you know what I mean? You know, you jumping in, assisting us, like there's just, but the sponsor list just literally kept growing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm excited,
So,
brother.
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
For sure. Yes, sir.
All right. I'll see you again soon.
All right, brother.
All right.